and we're just going to share some thoughts about pastoral care, I believe.
Are we on? I've got a piece of paper. Graham's got his iPad. Can you see the difference?
That's what we do.
Yeah, you can see the difference already, and that'll become a bit more apparent as we share a few things. Yeah. We just wanted to give you a bit of an update on the pastoral care that goes on within the church. When you're part of a family, looking after each other is a huge part of that. Well, I hope and pray it is for all of you. And it's no different when you're being a part of a church family. In fact, it should be integral in what goes on. The only slight difference is a church family tends to be a little bit bigger than our earthly families, as you can probably imagine. Nevertheless, we still want to make sure as a church, we make sure that everybody feels loved, encouraged, supported, and honoured as part of that family, just as it says in Scripture. But just like our earthly families, things aren't always that easy, but we need to be able to bear with each other, forgive each other, and love each other.
So the question that Tim and I have been exploring over the last few weeks is how do we do this to the best of our ability? And we've met together a number of times, and we're aware, and this was really hard for us to know and to recognize, that we recently came across a situation where a family in our church were going through difficult times and just didn't feel that they were supported by us as a church. And that was something that broke our heart. That's not something that we want to happen as we live as family together.
Yeah, absolutely not. So what can we do to make things better? What can we do to make sure that the pastoral care, the loving care of the church works better? To make sure that people don't get missed like this and that they feel supported as they should do, because that's what we want. Now, those of you that know me know that I'm not really a structure kind of person.
No.
I think they're all nodding, especially my wife. I'm more of a let's see how it goes kind of person and not really have a plan. That's right, isn't it, Graham?
But those of you who know me...
Yeah.
know that
did you hear the laughter then?
Yeah. Know that I'm a bit more of a structured person. I like to have a plan.
Yeah.
And so when we sat down together, we had to work through this. We were coming at things in different ways, but with the same goal, a bit like it often is in family. So I showed Tim a PowerPoint presentation and a flow chart of a structure. I thought it could be helpful.
Yeah, and do you know what I did? I saw a plan, I saw a structure, and I winced. I sat there and thought, oh no. But then we talked together, then we shared together, and we realised we were totally on the same page. And I realised actually having a structure behind the scenes would be really helpful to enable us to care for different people, to make sure that they were being supported and cared for day to day in a far more efficient way. Now, I know that goes against the grain for me because I'm not the structure person. So this is what we came up with. Well, Graham came up with this flow chart that we have up here. Now, at the moment, you can see that I head up the pastoral work within the church, supported by the leaders here. But it's become more and more apparent that a couple of days a week, looking after the pastoral work in the church just doesn't cut it. It's not enough.
But we also realised that relying on one person, however amazing that person is, I know that's not in the script.
That's not in the script,
I thought, relying on one person to do the bulk of the work isn't realistic or healthy or even right. Yeah. Because each one in our church family has an opportunity to love and support each other. And we see that demonstrated in so many ways. And we just want to encourage that more and more. Because it is the responsibility of all of us to build family and to be there for each other. But yeah, we have asked some people to take on a particular role in ensuring that each person is cared for and encouraged. So you can see from this chart that Tim, with the support of us on the leadership team, is still heading up the pastoral work and will continue to support people who are unwell, in hospital, bereaved, who simply can't get to church. But we've also added in other people and other groups who are already doing pastoral work. Existing life group leaders, for example, we're asking them to ensure people within those groups are loved and encouraged and supported. It's the ideal place for that to take place. They meet on a regular basis. There are opportunities within those groups to do life together already. It just makes sense.
But then there's also other groups that are already in place within the church for supporting each other. They're not necessarily set up as those kind of things, but things like the worship group. They meet together on a regular basis and love and care for each other. The 5 Minors team that we have, looking after the toddlers during the week. TLG team that work together. The missions team, and so on. There's a whole list of other sort of ministry groups that work within the church. Now, each of them meet fairly regularly, or are at least in a regular contact. So again, it's a natural place to support and encourage each other. So these two groups, the life groups and the ministry groups, they cover a lot of people, but not everybody. We know that not everybody sat here is going to come into 2 of those groups. So this is what we meant when we referred to earlier, asking some other people to take on a particular role to ensure that each person is cared for and encouraged. And we're talking about sort of pastoral care leaders. That's what we're talking about here. And we're currently praying about and then approaching different people within the church who could take that role, who'd be happy to be a pastoral care leader. They would have a small list of people who are regular attenders of the church, not covered in those 2 groups we've already mentioned, who would look after, who would care for, and therefore there'll be less of a chance that people could get missed. Because really, that's what we don't want to happen. We don't want anybody to feel like they're not being loved and cared for, but that somebody's looking out for them.
Now, even this is not a perfect system. It's a nice chart, but it's not a perfect system. Nothing is. But hopefully you can see that this will enable us all to be part of the pastoral care within our church, and means that we can care and encourage everybody who is part of our church family, and hopefully not miss anyone. So that's the plan.
That's the plan. We want you all to feel loved.
Yeah.
That's the heart. And I know we have a structure, we have a plan, we have those things. But the biggest thing is this place should be full of love. Mm-hmm. And how we love each other is so, so important. And we want to get it right. Graham's already said it won't be perfect, but we want to make it better. So will you walk with us on this journey as we try and work this out and make it better?
Mm-hmm. And do let us know if you've got any thoughts on this, so we can refine anything that we need to do. And let's be there for each other. Thanks so much, Tim. And thanks for all you do. He's a pretty good guy, really. We're going to